Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. And yet again, I brought on another fantastic guest. But before we do that, please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And without further ado, let's bring Glenn B. Fleming. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. You know, just barely alive, but here.
Listen, I injured my foot earlier in the week. In a dream, I was dreaming about football, soccer, and this guy was going to go past me. So I thought, well, I better bring him down. I better kick him, and I kicked out, and I must have been halfway hanging out of bed because I kicked the floor, and the big toe now is sort of a really purpley bluey colour. It really hurts.
Ouch!
Yeah. But I can't imagine what kind of position I was in to kick the floor. I must have been on my front. I must have been half out of the bed. I must have been really moving with him,
Yeah, you were really in there. You were like, okay.
So I've got an injured toe. Bloody hurts as well.
Yeah, you don't listen. They tell you to live your dream, but sometimes you got to give up on those. The violent ones.
Well, the wife's dream was for today. Today was for me to cut the lawn, so that's got to wait because I can't walk.
Oh, so you saved yourself in a way.
Well, yeah, but then it gets tougher when it gets longer, doesn't it? So anyway, true. I think lawns should be banned. All gardens should be banned.
You have to find a local kid that'll do it for $10 or $20.
Yeah.
That's what my wife does.
They'd laugh at you if you suggested that to anybody around here.
Yeah.
So go on. Sorry.
So Glenn, we're just gonna. I'm gonna start you I know you've been in the game for a while, but we're gonna start off like real way back in the day, right? So, okay. I mean, you're a writer, you're a creator, you're doing comics, you're doing all kinds of stuff, which is fantastic. But little Glenn, long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Little Glenn, what made you say, okay, I want to be a writer? I want to explore going into this.
Well, one of my earliest memories, I used to live in a cottage, a nice little quaint cottage, which is a listed building. It's 300 years old now, this cottage. And I used to live in this cottage, and we moved in, and it had been derelict for about 10 years. This is the late 50s, when I was about 4, 5. And I can remember one of my earliest memories is walking in to this new house. And somebody had been squatting there. You have squatters, people who move into derelict buildings and stuff. And whoever it was, or however many it was, had drawn on the walls, and they'd drawn this fantastic scenery on all the walls downstairs. And I remember this, and I always regret that back in those days, nobody had a camera, that we didn't get shots of this, because it was absolutely amazing. Anyway, so then I don't know whether that influenced me or not. I think it may have done, but I've always drawn characters and things out of comics and things like that. Created my own, and I was always writing as well. Creating my own stories and writing the comics and stuff like that. Because I used to read things. I don't know whether you know the British comics like the Beano and the Topper. They'd have these really cartoony characters in, and I didn't so much like that kind of thing. And then one day, I've got 2 older brothers, and my older brother Martin brought home the Eagle. You've heard of Dan Dare? Have you heard of Dan Dare?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Have you heard of Dan Dare? No.
Okay.
We got an interruption.
Okay. No, I think we're good now.
Right. He brought on Eagle comic, and I used to read that. And those stories were more realistic. And then he brought home some Jack Kirby Marvel stuff, and I got into it through that. And I stopped reading the Beano and these rubbishy children's things, and started reading science fiction. Then I started reading real books, and the first real book I ever read was A Man from U.N.C.L.E. book, one of the paperbacks from the mid-60s. And then I thought, this is great. So I started writing my own, and I wrote my own first book when I was 8, which was 20 pages long, which is pretty good for an 8-year-old. And that was starring Stingray, you know, the Jerry Anderson puppet series. You've seen that? Well, it was about that, because that was my favorite TV program there. And I just went on from there. And then when I left school, it's a funny story with that, because I had about 600 Marvel comics all under my bed. Fantastic Four #1, Spider-Man #1, all of them.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it gets not very much better than that, because what happened was I went to what we call the careers officer to see what I would do for a job. And I said to him, I went with my mother, and I said he said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to draw comics." And he said, "Nobody draws comics." And I thought, well, and because times have changed, and I was 15, and I wouldn't be what we call cheeky to an elder, you know, an adult, I didn't say anything. Anyway, a few weeks after that, I got. This guy said to me, "Why don't you be a mechanic?" Now mechanics are great, but as I say to people, you know, I know how my car works, but I don't know. I know what it. No, let me retract that. I don't know how it works. I know how to put the petrol in and drive it, but I don't know how what's going on under the hood. I can't do that. I can change the wheel, the tire, but I have no idea of what's going on. But I could draw it for you, right? So I say to people, I'm the world's worst DIY.
What's funny is I went to school here in New York, to Automotive High School, right?
Yeah.
Because I was young, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was writing, right? But I wasn't. It never occurred to me. I guess at that time, I could just go to a school, learn how to write. So I went to Automotive High School, and it completely turned me off to cars.
Right.
The exact I can tell you, I understand the combustion engine. I understand, all these different, but I hated getting dirty. Well,
I don't mind that. I remember there was a guy at school, and we had this thing that was called a GP, or general purpose or something, and it was a Friday morning, and you could do whatever you wanted in that Friday morning. And all these guys were making fiberglass, I don't know what they call kayaks. These, what they call those really long, thin boats that people have paddles on.
And
I thought, what are you going to do with that? They're about 100 foot long, and where are they going to put that? Anyway, there was this other guy, and because I used to do the printing, you see, I got out on lots of classes because I was the only person interested in doing the printing. So I used to print the soccer results and the school magazine, which I used to write as well, and this kind of thing. So it was great. So anyway, this other guy, I can't remember his name now, but there was a complete car engine out of the car on a bench, and it was just sitting there, this thing. And I'm doing this printing, and on the other side of the room, and I'm just sort of watching him, and he took it all apart. And I thought, well, I could do that. Anybody can take stuff apart. And then before the end of the day, he put it all back again. And he was only 15, and I thought, bloody hell, that's amazing, right? Anyway, it didn't enable me to do it. So I went to. I bummed around for a couple of years. I left school and I just wanted to draw, but there was no sort of outlet for me. So I sort of had labouring jobs and just jobs in mills and stuff like that. And when I was 17, I thought, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And the only thing I can do is draw. So I went to art college, and I went into graphics and graphic design and illustration and typography and all the stuff allied to marketing and all that kind of thing. And then after that, I got a job doing that, and then got to be the manager of a place, and then I got my own place and all this kind of thing. But now I just work for myself, writing and drawing, whatever comes my way. I do portraits and stuff like that, and all sorts of things.
Right. Now, as far as like the art thing, like early on, like what type of were they like advertising? Like was it like doing advertising? Was it doing like typography?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was magazines. I do all of it. I can design the magazine. I can draw the illustrations. I can take the photographs. I know about typography, and I can write as well, and I can edit. And now I'm a publisher as well, because I publish my magazine. And the only trouble with that is that I end up doing a lot of work myself and only getting one wage. You understand what I mean? If I give half of my workload to people, I'd be paying a lot out in wages, but I don't get it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. No. So I mean, oh, that's cool. So at what point did you decide to get into comics? Like, at what point you're like, okay, I'm good with advertising. I'm good with this other art stuff. You know, like now I just want to start doing, my own comics.
Before I left school, I used to write and draw some comics, which I should have got for you. I've actually got them. I've still got them. And I created my own characters and wrote the stories and coloured them in and all this kind of thing. And then the school thing happened and I went to art college. But when I got back into cartoon strips, I did a couple through the years because I could do that as part of promotional, advertising things. And my first claim to fame within any sort of what you might call a licensed characters was I drew Spider-Man on a game that was released, and this job just came into the studio, and I said, "What's this?" And the manager said, "We've got to do this, blah blah." I said, "Well, I'm doing that," and I've got a box. It came out in about 1979, I think,
right.
And I've got 2 boxes of that, and it's just this. It's based on a John Romita Spider-Man because he was the one at the time, but that was my first sort of licensed thing. And then when comic strips came along in the mid 80s with the black and white glut that swept the universe, and I published my own comics then, and then for a couple of years, and then I worked for Swift Show magazine and produced a comic strip called Forest, and then I came out of comics for a bit and went back into illustration for magazines and things like that. And then what happened? I started to write a lot, and then when would it be? About 2006, I started to write a lot, and went back freelancing and wrote a lot of books and published them. And then I just like drawing, and I hadn't been drawing for a couple of years, you see, or not done anything
right.
notes. And I had all these ideas, so I've just been developing stuff like that, and that's where Hatch came along. And at the same time, I was doing a children's book illustration and things like that. So I've always been doing it, but not as much as I am now.
Gotcha.
And then with the COVID thing, not saying COVID is good, but from my point of view, I've really done a load of work because I can't go and see anybody, and we can't go out and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I'm not the kind of a person who sort of sits around. I like to be producing something. I mean, even if I'm cooking or something like that, I'm not the world's greatest cook. Don't get me wrong, but I can cook, and I like to do that as well. But I also like to drink red wine, which I'll be doing later. So I always keep going, and I never have one job to do. I'm writing 2 or 3 books at the same time. I'm illustrating Hatch. I'm illustrating this for somebody else. I'm doing a portrait of their child or whatever. So I'm always doing something. So I keep busy because I figure that you can sleep when you're dead, can't you, for a while? You know what I mean? So I just like to get as much done as I can.
All right. Entropy in Comics says, out of the 3, writing, art, and publishing, what has been the greatest challenge?
Publishing, because you've got to get it out there and the marketing behind it. And I don't like doing that, but you've got to do that. The writing and the art it's not easy, but it's what I do. Daphne will be the same. She'll know it. I know she knows it's not easy, but it's easy for her to do. You understand what I mean? Even though there's a lot of problems and frustration. But publishing is the worst one, because it's not that I don't like talking to people or anything like that, but I'm thinking, while I'm ringing people up and placing this with some publisher, I could be writing and drawing another one. That's the difficult part. The publishing is the greatest challenge, because I've got millions of ideas. I'll never get through all my ideas. Millions of ideas, lots of them, for films, for books. I'm also trying to get around to finishing off 2 plays that I'm writing.
Nice.
So, but again, like with the publishing, when I've written them, then I've got to promote them and get them out there. That's going to be the challenge, because I don't know anybody in that business, so it may not happen.
Gotcha. Now, do you ever like cross-pollinate? Do you let's say you write a play and you say, okay, well, I like it as a play, but maybe I'll write it as a prose piece, or I'll convert it into a comic. Do you ever do that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I have one called The Amazing Mr. Kuiper, a science fiction story that I've been working on for 10 years now, but not all the time, but it just comes back. And it started out as a graphic novel, and I drew a few pages, and I thought, this is going to be at least sort of 84 pages, and it would take me a year to produce that, the full colour art on that, the lettering, never mind the writing. And I just haven't had a chance to do nothing for a year, you see, because I, like I say, I like to do things. So I've decided to write that as a prose book and illustrate it. So I already did that on this one, on Iapetus Rising.
Cool.
Can you see that?
Yep, there you go.
And that's illustrated, if you can see it. I've done some illustrations for that. Well, I'll show you on the back.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Like that. And I like that kind of discipline to write stuff and draw. This is from another one called. This is The Amazing Mr. Kuiper, I should say. This is one of the artboards from that.
Oh, that's really that's gorgeous. That's really nice.
And it's all drawn, with a pencil and an ink and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I use coloured inks on it.
Yeah, no, that's really nice. That's gorgeous.
And thank you. And that's what I like to do. I like to write and illustrate as well.
No, that's cool. There are people who color in computers who can't do the things I want.
Yeah, I think I'm well known for my dislike of computer coloring. There's nothing wrong with it if that's what people want to do. Yeah. But I don't think I've never seen anybody color anything on a computer. Now, I'm not saying they can't. I've never seen it that would turn out like that.
Hold on, let me put that up. Give me a sec. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Now there's a story behind that illustration.
Mm-hmm.
That illustration is from a book I wrote about my dad's experience in the war. He was a paratrooper on D-Day, and I wrote a book about that.
8 seconds. Nice.
And that illustration. My dad was a brain gunner. That's the guy in that is a brain gunner. I don't know if you've seen a brain gunner. It's got that curved magazine on the top from the Second World War. It's called a brain gunner. My dad had one of those, and so I wanted to show not necessarily him, but somebody firing this weapon. And when I did that drawing, if you look at it, if you ever see it closely, it's not finished because I fell out with it. I didn't like it at all, and I was really angry with myself because I spent a couple of days on it, and it's just not right. So what I did was, in my anger, and I don't usually do this, but in my anger, I got all the colour ink out and I splattered it all over the place. As you can see.
Right.
As you can see, it's really random.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was angry with myself for doing it. And then so I just put it to one side. And a couple of days later, I sort of walked into my studio and saw it. And I thought, wow. And it's probably the best illustration in the book now. Born out of frustration and all that kind of stuff, but I just like. I'm pleased with this one. This is from the same book. This is a sniper.
Oh, nice! Right, nice. Yeah, that's
and that was. I didn't colour that because I didn't want to spoil the drawing, so I left that one in black and white. But I just like to show you the cover artwork just as a finish on that one.
Yeah, that is gorgeous. Now, when you ink, are you inking with pens or are you inking with brushes?
I use both. I use both. It depends what the effect I'm trying to get. But I use the coloured inks, obviously, with the brush and everything. As for the computer colouring, I'm not, like I said, I'm not against it. It's just that I like the feel of the brush on the board. I like the ink on my fingers. All that.
Right.
And I've never yet seen a piece of coloured art that you can't tell it's on a computer, not on a computer, because it's a different texture. But I like the cutting out the board and drawing up the borders and erasing the corners and all that,
Yeah, I know the tactile feel of it. I know. Trust me. Yeah. That's why
plus, at the end of it, I've got something to hang on the wall or sell. If you do it on a computer, you can only sell a print, can't you?
Right. Yeah. Well, now they have those digital things that you can sell.
Yeah, but it wants that. It's like the Mona Lisa. Who would want a print of the Mona Lisa? You want the real one, don't you?
True. Yeah, or at least a nice reproduction. There's always some guy. Always some guy at the Louvre painting one.
Well, that's okay. At least it's real.
Yeah, exactly. So Entropy in Comics says, are there subject matters that you favor in writing, or subject matter that you flat out avoid?
I don't think I avoid anything. I write different things. I write the book about my dad. I've written a book on my travels to Rapa Nui, Easter Island. I've written a book on that, full of all my photographs. I like writing science fiction. I'm currently developing an alternate superhero story, which will be prose and illustration again. No, there's nothing I avoid. I wrote a love story once, a short story that was probably the worst thing I ever did, but at least I tried to have a go at it, But no, nothing I really avoid. I've written 2 books about the Kennedy assassination. I produced a magazine that had a lot of that kind of material in it in the 90s, and I've written and interviewed many soap stars and produced a magazine about those in the 90s. Anything really, anything. It depends, it's like I said, if I don't waste any time. If I'm struggling with something, I'll just move on to the next thing, and it might be totally different. And sometimes that's a good thing, because it makes your brain work a bit, So,
No, that's cool. So I mean, I know you've traveled extensively, right, throughout the world. So my question to you is, as a world traveler, what is the place that you would consider like the best comic book trip, right? Like if you were to go to a place, you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to this place to like see comics or creators or artists. What was that place for you in the world?
Oh, no contest, New York.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I've been to New York 12 times. I've been to America 20 times, and been all over, coast to coast, all through the middle. And it's the second best place on earth for me, New York, next to where I live. I love where I live. England's fantastic. But the next place would be the United States.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I've been to lots of places. I've been to Texas and Arizona, and I've been coast to coast. I went to coast to coast first time, and I went on a Greyhound bus. Mm-hmm. And did all that sort of stuff, and nearly got shot a couple of times, and all this kind of thing and everything, I was in Nashville,
right,
and I was just waiting for the bus. It's a 2-hour turnaround, and I had to wait. So I got the bus in Dallas, Texas, and I was going to New York. So it was taking me a week or so to get across, because you get off and walk about, Anyway, so I was in Nashville, and I thought, well, I'll go and have a look. I'll go and have a walk around, see what's going on in Nashville.
Right. And
then after about an hour, I started noticing that people were looking at me, and I thought, I must be looking pretty good. No, I was thinking, what's going on? Because they're all looking at me. And then I realized I was the only white person on the street.
Oh, okay.
Nothing happened. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see this. I was just walking around, right. And I don't know exactly where I was with regard to whether it being a nice area or not. But I was the only white person, and I was getting a bit uneasy about this, because people were stopping and looking at me like, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Right.
So I can only imagine I was in a black area where white people shouldn't go.
Right.
So that was scary.
Yeah, it's strange in New York City, right? So I've lived here my entire life, born and raised. And I come from one of these areas that a lot of it was very minorities. It was a lot of blacks, a lot of Hispanics, and there's a line. It's 96th Street, right? So once that you get up,
is that up to Harlem?
Yes. So at 96th Street, all the white people got off, and it was just Hispanics and blacks from that point on uptown. It's changed over the last few years, but
Well, last time I was there, I went on one of those open air buses, them English buses with a double deckers, we call them, with no roof on. I went on one of those, and we went into Harlem, and I went past the club. What's the club called? It's not Martin Luther King Boulevard. There's a club. It's like a jazz club, I think. A famous one. I went past that and saw all that kind of thing. But I did notice again that there was more black people at that end than there were at the other end, and New York's very diverse, isn't it? And but I wasn't intimidated by it, because you get a bit older and you do these things and you sort of half expect it. Because I know Harlem is correct me, is Harlem basically an ethnic minority area? Black people, Hispanic people, that kind of thing, more so than white people. Yeah. But I was on this bus because some people got off, and I thought, no, that's probably not a good idea. I don't know. Just had a feeling shouldn't get off. But that sounds like I'm slagging people off, but I don't mean it that way. But you've got to be careful.
Yeah. Now most of those areas are safe nowadays. I mean, it's changed.
Yeah.
Incredibly, it's changed incredibly now. It's way more diverse than it was.
Well, the first time I went in '78 to New York, I was told.
Oof.
Not to go to 42nd Street, and that's where I wanted to go. So I didn't go. But the next few times I've been to 42nd Street and walked up and down, I've been to the theatre there and everything. I understand it wasn't the best place to go. That area in 1978.
Yeah, the Deuce. I mean, in '70. I mean, I was a kid. I was literally 10 years old. But a little bit later on in the mid 80s, I would go with a group of friends, and I mean, it was crazy. And we were from the hood, so we were like, it didn't bother us. We were in our element. So it didn't bother. And there was a sizable amount of us too. There's about 12 of us. So it wasn't like, we weren't, but it was crazy. It was all strip clubs and pimps and whores, and it was nuts. The crazy thing about it, none of us were into drugs, so we didn't, those guys didn't pay attention to us. We didn't pay attention to them, so it's funny. But yeah, here we go. Oh, hold on. Thank you, Canley, for answering the questions. Everyone hit the like and subscribe. Yes, please like and subscribe. But yeah, I mean, all right. So as far as like your trips to New York and comics, like what was the thing? What did you visit any comic book stores, and like what was the earliest ones you remember visiting? In
New York?
Yeah.
The first one I went to was Midtown Comics. That's on 38th Street, 42nd Street or something.
Yeah, it's on 40th. It's on 40th and 7th.
Right. And then there was the one that's opposite the Empire State Building.
Jim Hanley's Universe.
Went in there a couple of times. I didn't go to too many places. I was doing other things. I was going up to see John Lennon's house and all that kind of stuff. Going to the Guggenheim. Oh, I must tell you. When I was at one of the trips I was on, because I went about 8 times over like 4 years, so I can't remember which trip was which without me diary. But when I was there, I was talking to somebody in the hotel, and they asked me what I did and all that kind of thing, and they said, "Oh, the Guggenheim next week is going to be the largest single collection of Van Gogh." Or Van Gogh, okay. You might call him Van Gogh, I don't know.
Van Gogh.
And this guy was saying that all the known collectors who have his work are all putting the paintings there. And I thought, wow, that's got to be something to see. And then the next day, I think it was on the news, because when I'm in the hotel room, I like the television on, because I love American television, because it's so trite, but you've got to listen to it, And these guys are chirping on in this morning show. And it had been cancelled because the FBI had got wind of a heist, of all these priceless paintings. I mean, like the flowers, and all that, Starry, Starry Night, and all that stuff. So you imagine how much those are worth. I mean, they're all priceless, aren't they?
Yeah.
And anyway, it didn't happen. So, so I didn't. Well, I went to the Guggenheim, but the show wasn't on, So that was a disappointment. But New York's a wonderful place.
Oh yeah, like I said, I live here. What's funny is when it comes down to going to the museums and things, we have to literally schedule it, because we've been to a bunch of them, but we've done them like thank you. Daphne's handing me coffee.
Hi, Marv.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where since we live here, it's not a priority.
Yeah.
Right. Like going to the Statue of Liberty, like I've been there when I was like 10, you know.
Yeah.
The Empire State Building. Yeah, whatever. You know, for us, it's like, fine.
One of the first things I did when I got the first time I went was in 1978, but I was only there for a day, and then later in 2002, 3, 4, 5, I went all those times, right. And one of the first things I did was get the helicopter flight around Manhattan. Have you done that? That's no, I haven't done that. It's absolutely amazing. I filmed it all as well. I filmed the entire trip. And but what I want to do next time when I come back, when we're allowed, is to do the one at night. I want to do the one at night.
Okay.
But I've been to the Statue of Liberty. I went to Staten Island. I went into Harlem. Went into Queens and done all around. You know, I wanted to go to Governor's Island, but they weren't doing it that day. I don't know why. Maybe somebody had escaped or something. I don't know.
Yeah, what's funny is I like to goof on Staten Island. It's like the one place most New Yorkers don't go to, like ever.
Right.
We're gonna take the boat over just to say we took the boat over.
Well, that's exactly what I did. I had no intention. I had no intention of staying, and I didn't. What I did, I got the boat at Battery Park.
Right.
Went across, said hello to the Statue of Liberty on the right, and went across Staten Island, and I literally, and the other boat was already docked. The one to come back. So I got off.
Right.
And I walked up this massive. I think it was a moving staircase or maybe stairs, I can't remember, and just literally walked round and then walked down the other side and got back on the other boat to come back because I thought, well, there's nothing here anyway, so there's no point. Yeah. But I've been to Staten Island. I've been to all the 5 boroughs of New York, so it's that's what you've got to do, isn't it?
Yeah, this is true.
But I didn't put my feet down in Harlem. So maybe I've not been there. Then you've got to touch it, haven't you? You know, you've got to.
You know, it's all on Manhattan. It's all on Manhattan. So you've been in Manhattan. It's all part of the island.
Yeah.
So I mean, so let's talk a little bit about Hatch. I know you've been working on that. Like, tell me about that. What's that about?
It's just this. It's been around for years, and I've finally done something with it. He's just a little guy. He lives on an asteroid on his own. He's never met anybody. He doesn't speak. There's no word bubbles in it. It's just all these crazy things. He's like things happen. Like he has a little hat that he lives in, and he goes down into this thing, shuts the lid, and there'll be a tsunami, and he'll come up, and the place is flooded, and it's just all these crazy things that happen to him, and he can't work it out because he doesn't understand. And he's got this Egyptian thing going now where he's going to try and make a pyramid and this kind of thing, and just all these. It's just mad. It's just mad. But I think it's funny, and people I show think it's funny. But I've got tons of ideas, and my wife Helen comes up with the best ideas. And if I suggest something, she says, "Yeah, but why don't you do this instead?" And she's always right, you know. And it's
right. So
most of the ideas are hers, or they might be my idea, but she's developed it. So he's just this little guy, Hatch, and he's just, he's on this place, and all sorts of stuff goes on. Anything you could think of happens. The horses will run past. He doesn't know what a horse is, and it's just madness, you know. But I'm doing the second book. The first book is already on Amazon.
Nice.
It's all in colour. In fact, it's coloured on a computer, believe it or not. Look how flat those colours are. You know, it's like, look at that. Yeah. Can you see that because of the sun?
Yeah. So did you colour that in the computer, or you had somebody else do it?
No, I did it. Yeah.
Well, it looks good.
Well, thanks, but it looks better. It looks better, hand done.
Mm-hmm.
But it's things like this. I don't know whether you'll know what that is. Do you know what those are? Did you ever Jerry Anderson's Captain Scarlet?
No, I don't actually.
Oh
no.
Well, people who've seen Captain Scarlet will know what that is.
Mm.
And it's all just little in jokes and things like that, and like. He's minding his own business, you see. That's his hatch there.
Right.
This flies over.
Uh-huh.
And it's just madness. But anyway, I'm doing the second book. It's probably going to be about 48 pages. I'm doing it in hardback, this one. I'll probably do a crowdfunder on it as well to help pay some costs.
Oh yeah, of course. So let me ask. So the little hatch, is that where he lives in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I've got it. There's his asteroid.
Right.
There's a better shot of it.
No.
And his hatch, you can see it there. Where are we? Can you see it there?
Right. Okay. There you go.
And he lives in there. You never go in there. You never see what's down there. But it must be like Aladdin's cave, because he'll pick things up and take them down with him. But what I'm also doing is, in my spare time, of which I don't have a lot, I'm trying to learn an animation package called Blender. I don't know if you've seen it. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm gonna do this because I've always seen Hatch as an animated character. So I'm going to try and learn that, and then produce an animated film, probably just a short, or well, as long as it could be. Do you know one of my ambitions was to, many years ago when I was at college, I read a Walt Disney book, and I think I was reading about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which was the world's first full-length animated film. You might know that, and I think it had 2.5 million drawings. Now, I understand the process. They have background artists, and they have main character artists, they have in-betweeners and all that. But I'm the person, I wanted to produce the whole thing. And I thought, there's no way you can draw 2.5 million drawings.
Not one individual, yeah.
Yeah, and then with Blender, check it out. Just have a look at it on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. I think Pixar use it.
Right.
Pixar use or similar. But Pixar, I think, are upset with Mr. Blender because it's free. And the stuff that Pixar use, if you buy that, it's going to cost you 20 grand.
Right.
But this is free. It's free. It's incredible. But I haven't got the hang of it yet. But so I hope to soon, I'll have an animated film of him.
Okay.
And then maybe sell it to Pixar for $10 million, and I'll see you later.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I'm sure you know of Ralph Bakshi, right?
No.
Okay, well, Ralph Bakshi he's a famous animator here in the States. He's did Fritz the Cat, he did Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
he did Lord of the Rings
right. I've seen those.
Fire and Ice. Those are his films.
Right.
And they're a little bit on the raw side. He uses rotoscope. He does all this stuff. But to him, I remember him saying, he's like, "Look, guys, this is as an animator, you don't have to work for Disney. You don't have to work for Pixar. You don't have to work for these companies." He says the technology is there that you get together yourself and 2 or 3 other people, and you jam, and you can make a movie in a year.
Yeah.
He says using these programs. He says that barrier has been reduced.
Yeah.
By significantly, but unfortunately, people like to get paid. They like to be able to live.
Well, that's why I stopped doing that. Didn't do that graphic novel,
Yeah. And unfortunately here, we're straight up capitalists. We don't support the arts in any way. We don't give out grants. Like, you want free money? No, get a job. So yeah.
Until they make it work and then they buy it.
Right. Exactly. That's how that works. So. Yeah.
But I've always. It's funny that. The only thing I've done a couple of animations shorts, seconds, just using in between drawing, and filming it myself and all that. But the only thing I ever wanted to do was animate, and it's the only thing I haven't done.
Right.
In my line, I've not walked on the moon, but you understand what I mean. I've always wanted to be an animator,
right.
And now with this Blender, I've got this golden opportunity. To be I can stick it on the end of my thing on Facebook and all that stuff and animator, So we'll look at that one.
No, that's really cool.
If I do it, I don't know whether I'll have time. I don't know. Got that much to do, but yeah, it would be really great. Oh, let me tell you this.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, it was the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and I was going to do a parachute jump into the Merville battery where my dad landed.
Nice.
But I couldn't do it because of my back and stuff like that. I just couldn't do it because my back's not good. So anyway, so I wrote the book, and I got on some of the sites to do with it, and I was halfway down going to do this jump, but I couldn't do it. But anyway, the guy who he does this jump, he's an ex-paratrooper, and he does it every year, and he's done something like 550 parachute jumps in his life. So I sent him the book,
right,
and he got all the other guys who jumped to sign it for me, and he jumped it, and he jumped it into Nerville for me. So this book has followed my dad into France and survived. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a really. I didn't know he was going to do it because he said to me, "Send me 2 copies." So I sent him 2 copies. One was for him, and then he sent me that one back, and he got all the stick to sign it and all that kind of thing. So, you know.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, so let me ask. I mean, obviously you've published a lot of books. Now, you're self-publishing these books, or are you negotiating with other publishers? How are you working that out?
I do both. Some of them are real publishers, and some of them are me.
Listen, you're a real publisher.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says. You're a real publisher.
I tell you what, it's better. You get more money publishing it yourself because you get what 10, 12, 15% of cover price on the other. But when you do it yourself, you get all of it. So
right.
But you've got to do the promotion, you see. So that's the downside of it.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you because I know you say you're looking to do a crowdfunder for Hatch, soon.
Yes.
But how are you financing like your other like what platforms are you using for your other works? Like to sell them?
Mostly they're all on Amazon.
Okay.
So I just go on Amazon. Yeah, there's probably other places I could put them, but it's like everything. Like I said, everything else. I've got so much to do, and there's only me doing it. So I mainly put things on Amazon and sell through that. But I'm going to contact the 10. What is it? We're 2021. About 12 years ago, I used to publish a magazine called Crikey, the Great British Comics magazine, which was about British comics.
Right.
And we had that in Forbidden Planet and all that kind of thing. And I think, I'm not sure about this, but I think it might have been that guy opposite the Empire State Building. I think it might have been in there. What's he called?
Jim Halley's Universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was in there. I'm not sure. But we were selling all over the world. We had. I used to run this thing where where in the world, and people from Japan were sending a photograph of them with Crikey. It was great. So what I'm going to do when I've there's a couple of things I'm working on. One of them's Hatch. I'm going to get in touch with those people and hopefully try and get it into Forbidden Planet and things like that, as well as on Amazon and wherever else I can put it.
All right. No, yeah, that would definitely be cool. Because I'm asking because it's as an independent publisher myself, I'm always looking for another place to sell things, and obviously Amazon is always there. But I mean, do you find has it been obviously it's been beneficial to you? But I mean, do you think is it something that you would suggest going whole hog in?
Yeah, everywhere. You see, I have to be honest. If a publisher, I'll say it, a real publisher, wanted all my stuff, I'd let them have it because it might. As I said, it's nice getting all the money, but you work hard for that. Whereas if you get a publisher, you just give them the work and get a check. Right. So it can be a bit daunting. So, but I would say explore every avenue. I haven't submitted a book for a couple of years now, but with some books I will submit to. I'm writing one about a football book about Manchester United Football Club. I don't know whether you know who they are, whether you've heard of them. They're one of the.
I've heard of it.
Right. Well, it's one of the biggest football clubs in the world, right? And I've written a book about some of their players. I'm going to approach them with it rather than just put it out. If they don't want it, I'll put it out myself. But I would just like them just to take it and print it and send me some money every now and again,
Right.
Because they've got a fan base of something like 1.5 billion, I think.
Oof, yeah. Okay.
So if I got £1, if they all bought one and I got £1.
You'd be all right.
I'd be doing all right, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you'd be okay.
or 100,000 would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I go down both roads, but I go down at the same time because if you go down so far for a couple of months and the end is no, well, you're back at square one. But if you go down both roads and that person says, no, you're right behind with where you were going on the other road, if you understand what I mean.
Right.
And you don't have to waste any more time because you're doing it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody out there is thinking about it, do it.
Gotcha.
Whether it's climbing that tree or going to see your grandma or writing a book, do it.
Yes.
Because, you know.
No, it's always a thing about, you got to pull the trigger. You got to, you know, if you don't, you have to try, you have to prepare yourself to fail, but you have to be ready. You know, you have to not be afraid of that.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing.
It's what you do when you get back up, because you will be knocked down. I've been knocked down so many times, and I'm sure everybody has, but I don't know their experience. But it's about opportunities, and I've said this before on other podcasts. I've done a few things in my life because I took my opportunity. The same opportunities are there for everyone, right? And but I tell you, I bet I've missed more than I've taken. But a lot of people can't do it, whatever reason. You know, I've had to save money, and I'm not the richest person in the world. You know, I've done without things to make that trip happen. I plot it out, I plan it out, and it never goes the way I want it to, but it usually goes better.
Okay, good.
That's my experience. You know, I went trekking around the Indian subcontinent 40 years ago with a friend of mine, you know, and that was an eye-opener. That was amazing. That made me appreciate things as well. Just seeing all that deprivation and just awful. But it's not my favorite place, but I'm glad I went because I know, you know, I saw it. You see it on the TV and you think, wow, that's bad. Well, when you're standing in the middle of it, it's 10 times worse. So, but I would say to anybody who wants to do anything, do it. Because I went to Easter Island, you know, Rapa Nui. That's the remotest place on earth. And I wanted to go there from being a kid because of the English teacher, Mr. Clarkson. He read us a book about it and all that kind of thing. It's been in my mind all the time. And then I turned 50. I was single. I had some money. I thought, sod it, I'm going. And I went all that way, you know, and achieved my ambition. And I still do have a really nice camera. Those guys live there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a fantastic place. It's really strange. If you can go, you should go. These are all my photographs. You've seen these guys before, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
And now, yes, sorry, go on.
Now, did you go through, like, obvious? Because here's the question. Did you fly into Chile and then take a boat over, or did you fly directly onto the island? How did that work?
Yeah, I flew. It's a long way. I flew to Madrid, Spain. Okay. And then to Santiago in Chile. And then it flew to Rapa Nui, which is another 6-hour flight.
Right.
And I filmed. It's great. I'm not saying it because I've done it, but when we got there, the pilot was great. He knew what he was doing, because what he did, he flew around the island first. And it's only tiny. It's only about 7 miles long. And it just broke out of the clouds. It was fantastic. He dropped down, and I filmed the plane landing. I filmed it coming in all the way down on the runway. And I've got 6 hours of film from when I was there that I still haven't edited yet. And I keep thinking I should put something out, just even if it's only for myself about it. Because I've done the book. I should maybe do the film with it as well. But it's editing 6 hours of film is, I mean, you've got to watch it for a start to know what's on it. So there's 6 hours, there's a day gone.
I've been to film school, and I've done editing, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you start at noon, right? You start at noon, and you're like, okay, I'll do this for a few hours, and then it's 4 a.m.
Yeah, you're there all
the next day.
Yeah,
and you're just like, and you don't even realize you've been there that long. Yeah,
and then you think, no, I've cut too many things. I'll have to do it again.
Right. Well, I don't know what programs you're using, but I was using a Final Cut Pro. It's very easy to make those changes now. So
I wasn't. I was just using iMovie.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah.
But I should use Final Cut Pro, yeah, because I've heard a lot about that. But again, you see, it's like the Blender. I'd rather spend my time learning the Blender than learning Final Cut Pro, you know. So
right, yeah.
So if I do something, it'll just be not as good as what you could do. Maybe you could do it. Maybe I should just give it to you and just say, do it.
Right. You know, we might both see it in the next century. It's how long it'll take me to do it. No, that's really awesome. So, all right, Glenn, we've been at this for a minute. We're close to the end, but we're not there just yet. I got some goofy questions I'm gonna ask you coming up. You'll see. Now, but before we get to that, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
I'm just about to launch a new website, which isn't up yet, but that is called gbfmedia.co. So in a couple of days, hopefully that'll be up. Or you can get me on Facebook, or you can email me if you want to. If I don't know why you would want to, but you can at comicsunlimitedmagazine@gmail.com. So that's about it, really.
All right. So let me start with my two generics. All right. If you had, I know you're an artist that you admire. So if you had the opportunity to hire an artist to do a cover for your book, right? Who, living or dead?
Yeah.
Don't worry about expense. Who would it be?
Mobius.
Nice. Yes.
I showed some work on Randy Zinnemann's show the other week, and the first thing that Daphne said was Mobius. So
yeah,
I guess he's been an influence, but Mobius, yeah, because I just think his work is absolutely sublime. It's just beautiful stuff. It's wonderful.
Yeah, they see the more intrigued I get.
Right.
You know, it's like I can't see enough of it. It's just incredible.
It's brilliant. Yeah, he's brilliant. But I wonder if I think he was taking certain substances, and I think it shows. But it's absolutely wonderful, as you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, sometimes the substances help. You know.
Well,
detach yourself from reality.
Yeah.
So Glenn, if you were approached and they say, Glenn, you got the golden ticket.
Nope. Frozen.
Bring up to the. Oh, sorry. Am I back?
Say again.
All right. So if they gave you the golden ticket and they say, Glenn, we want you to come up to the big companies. It doesn't matter. It could be Marvel, DC, Image, any of these companies, any of them. 2000 AD, it doesn't matter, right? Any of those companies. What would be the property you'd want to work on?
In a comic graphic novel form, with those companies, and they would pay me to do it for the next year.
Yes.
It would be The Amazing Mr. Kuiper.
Okay, Mr. Kuiper. I'm sorry, you froze for a second.
The Amazing Mr. Kuiper.
The Amazing Mr. Kuiper. Okay.
It's a science fiction. That's what I was talking about before. I'm writing a prose book on it and illustrating it.
All right, cool. Amazing Mr. Kuiper. All right, cool. All right, now I have some comparatives for you.
Right.
Okay. So we're gonna go through a few of these. You know, these are the ones that sometimes drive people crazy. But here we go. You've been around. Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla.
Okay. Bernie Wrightson or Barry Windsor Smith?
Oh, Windsor Smith every day.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Close, but Barry's top-notch illustrator.
Gotcha. Okay, that's fair. All right. All right. Why not? Spock or Data?
Spock, because he's real. Data's a robot. Data's a robot, isn't he?
Yes, Data's a robot. Okay, so he's Spock. Okay, cool. Indiegogo or Kickstarter?
Indiegogo, I think, because that enables you to be a pound short of your goal and carry on. Kickstarter says no, and I think that's a flaw.
Yeah. Okay. All right. H.P. Lovecraft or Edgar Allan Poe?
Poe, every time. every time.
Okay.
That he was definitely on something.
Yes, I think. Well, yeah, definitely. I think the other one was just lived his life in fear.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Robert E. Howard or Fritz Lieber?
I've never read either of them.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. Not fair enough. Yeah, I'm as a child in fantasy. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
Lord of the Rings is one of the biggest loads of rubbish I've ever seen, so it'd have to be Star Wars, which in turn is just Jack Kirby's New Gods.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Now, why do you? Now, are you talking about the films?
Well, many years ago, everybody was going in the 70s. Everybody was rambling on about this Lord of the Rings thing, and I was told that I have to read it. You've got to read this book. But before you do, you should read The Hobbit, because that explains the characters more. And I got to about page 25 of The Hobbit, and I thought, what am I wasting my time on this rubbish? Because I've never been a fan of goblins and spells and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, this is just rubbish. So I didn't bother reading Lord of the Rings. And then the films came out, and they were all 6 days long. And so we were going. My friend is a big follower of that. He likes that kind of thing. And then the films came out. Well, did they come out sort of 1 year, then the next year, then the next year? They were all a couple of years. Anyway, he came into work one day, and he had the collected, the three film pack box, and he slammed it down on my desk, and he said, it was Friday. This was Friday morning, and he said, right, I want a full report on this on Monday morning. So I came home, and I sat in for Saturday. I watched them all back to back. 9 hours of absolute rubbish. But I watched it. The best part was when Sean Bean got arrowed. That was the best part.
Okay.
And then I went back and I said, that is 9 hours of my life I will never get back. It's, as far as I know people like it, but you're asking me, and I would, if it was destroyed and never seen again, it wouldn't bother me at all. Okay. It's just rubbish, in my opinion. But I wish I'd written it. like I wish I'd written Harry Potter.
Right. Is he not a fan of Harry Potter either?
I've never read it, to be fair. I've seen the film. I've seen the film, bits of the films, but again, they're just full of spells and goblins, and I don't like that kind of thing.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. Not everybody's into that sort of thing. Well, here we go. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Agatha Christie?
Oh, Conan Doyle. Gotta be. Okay. Gotta be.
All right. Cool. Now, why?
Because Agatha Christie, I've not read too much, but they just seem to go very formulaic. They're very. You can tell where it's going to go. You can see what's going to happen. I know she has a twist maybe at the end, but it's like no. I like the other guy, like Basil Rathbone playing Sherlock Holmes, and things like that.
All right, cool. All right. Well, we've done a few of these already, so we'll wrap it up on this one.
Okay.
I'll hit you. Well, I don't know how familiar you are with either of these two gentlemen. Isaac Asimov or Robert Heinlein?
Oh, Robert Heinlein shares my birthday. Does he? Or is that Robert Silverberg? Anyway, one of them does. I'd say Asimov. When I first read the Foundation trilogy, it just blew me away.
Okay. I agree.
And Nightfall. Have you read Nightfall, where they don't know the sun comes up? Have you read that one?
Is it a short story or a full book?
I think it's a short story, yeah.
Yeah, if it's a short, I believe I've read that.
Yeah, he was great. But he writes science fiction. He writes proper science fiction where, like, I would rather watch Star Trek than Star Wars, because Star Trek is more realism, with the hardware and stuff. I mean, I know we're not flying around in the galaxy, but do you understand what I mean? Star Wars is fantasy, isn't it? And that has spells in it and stuff like that, and lightsabers and all that sort of stuff. I prefer the Asimov doing the high tech scientific writing. I like that.
All right, Marvy says, I feel the same way for MCU. and Fox superhero movies. The problem is, in my case, more hours.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the best thing I've seen on MCU is Captain America in the elevator. That's pure Jack Kirby. That's brilliant.
All right, and we'll wrap it up with this one. All right, okay. Stan Lee or Jack Kirby?
Oh. Can you not guess that one?
Well, I have a guess, but yeah, but you know.
Well, it's going to be Jack Kirby, hasn't it? You know, I don't want to get in trouble. I'm not going to. Jack Kirby.
Okay.
Jack Kirby and nobody else. There's no contest. No contest.
Got you. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So we'll so there. All right.
You're breaking up.
Yeah, I know. We're both freezing on each other.
Okay.
Look at this. Marv says, hold on. StreamYard is just acting super. Says yes, he agrees with you. He says, what kind of question is that?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my torture question, because
no torture there. No torture there, other than getting in trouble.
No, I look at it like this. I mean, they're fans who agree and disagree on certain things. You know, Stan did certain things that were cool, and Stan did certain things that are probably viewed as not cool. So it's, you know, it's a matter of opinion and conjecture at this point that both gentlemen are no longer with us.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so, but yeah. All right. So, Glenn, thank you for coming on. It was fantastic. We got to do this again.
Yeah,
please, one more time, let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
You can get all my books on Amazon. Helen, you can get all my books on Amazon, or you can get them from me if you want to. But you can see me on Facebook, on Amazon. You can contact me through Comics Unlimited Magazine at gmail.com. And I'm around if you want to talk to me or see what I do. You'll find it, but mainly on Facebook, I think.
All right, cool. So there you go. So thank you so much, everybody. You know, I'll be back soon in a couple of days, and then hopefully, like, I know Glenn has stuff coming up, and when that stuff comes up, I want to have you back on, and we're gonna definitely talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it then. Yeah.
You know, but next time we'll bring it up. And then let's see.
Got some things to be announcing soon.
Exactly.
So thanks for having me on the show.
All right. Thank you, Marv. You have a great weekend as well. And I'll be talking to all of you all soon. Have a good day, guys. Take care.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.